Hi, René here. Today I would like to tell you about the restructuring of my hi-fi setup. But don't misunderstand me, I'm not talking about technical modifications, only about improvements in the placement of my hi-fi gear. It would be great if some viewers could benefit from the measures I have taken and which I'm going to show you in this video. The most important reason for moving the devices was that in spite of an ample space for heat dissipation, I noticed a heat buildup over the amplifier, which I was worried about. You should not torture your electronics more than necessary, I thought. Maybe an area more convenient placement will contribute to a longer lifespan. The second reason was the length of the speaker cables. If you set your devices up in a way that allows you to buy the shortest length possible, this can reduce your expenses on very expensive cables. I mean, if you're into teasing out the utmost from your stereo setup. If you prefer to buy serial meters off the roll, you don't care. But with real high-end cables, your heart rate will increase with each foot of cables you add. The third reason for the change was rather of aesthetic nature. My two racks, each 1.3 meters wide, were useful for placing the gear I wanted to test and review, but now, where the die has been cast, I wanted more open space in front of my nose. However, the change initiated for aesthetical reasons turned out to be even more beneficial for the sound. I'm going to explain that later on. My back was still pain-free, but I knew a hard time was awaiting me. What a breeze it would have been to find a helpful fairy who, with a mysterious movement of her hand, would have caused all that heavy stuff to float off like the ladies in this clip. Oh, my wish was fulfilled against all expectations. So I still was fresh to start my work, but the first stands I needed were not even yet produced. Off to my workshop to weld and paint. The paint job luckily went hand in hand with a repair on my car. Taking my setup apart was a great opportunity to show my previous American amplifiers in contrast to my new Plinius amplifier side by side. Two of my discarded amps stacked on top of each other were just about enough to equal the volume of a single A-300 monster block. An A-350 puts 28 kilograms on the scale, while a single Plinius has exactly the same weight, tipping the scale at 57 kilograms, and is able to output 2 times 300 or a little more watts per channel into 8 ohms. A miracle happens when you insert an XLR cable into the bells. In this case, the performance is boosted up to 1000 watts of monoblock power. In either mode, it has a fantastic storage capacitance so that it will never run out of power even in the most demanding seconds. This can be heard when you switch the device off. It will unflinchingly keep on playing for almost half a minute until it gets down on the knees. Look at the upper big display. It will count upwards, and the smaller one below will show how long it takes until the last spark is used up and the tank is empty. However, as impressive as this may seem, the A350 sonically cannot cope with the A300. Let's take a look at the specs and pick out at least one example. The Bells has a distortion factor of 0.1% at rated power, the Plinius only 0.05. Let's be fair. The A300 was built as a cost-no-object device, which resulted in a $20,000 price tag. David Bells wanted to build an outstanding amp which was still affordable for the average customer at a price of $5,000 to $6,000. Let's not talk about money too long and indulge in some optical impressions to help us forget our financial limitations. Finally, I'd like to give you a glimpse of the inner life of the device. You may be disappointed because the giant circuit board denies a deeper look into the secret chamber below. As I recently said, The A300's real power sits in a hara in the lower portion of the amp, which you can access when you turn the amp topsy-turvy and open it from below. Finally, we complete the hairspication with a short look into the A350. This juxtaposition will explain and justify the small surcharge for the Plinius, even to the technically less experienced. This is the stand for my power distributor, the Ansatz Mainz 8 A3. I placed it on this platform with adjustable feet on aluminium discs carrying a 30 kilogram sandstone plate. As the original feet are extremely expensive, I put it on affordable entry-level absorbers. Normally people place it face to the front, but I turned it around to make the plugs more easily accessible. The big screws have holes in them so that the platform can conveniently be balanced. It is the substructure for the second level, which I will talk about later. Exactly in front of it, I placed the next platform, which carries a sand-filled plywood board to host the power amplifier. On the right side, I put a really heavy welded metal rack. In the top frame, there is a 5 cm granite plate. The lower stories have to bear with plywood boards. The left side is reserved for the turntable on its stainless rig. Its feet are sand-filled, by the way. First, I'm putting the triangular sub-base on the feet. I'm securing it with cable ties for the worst case. Here comes the weightlifting part. The massive base of the acoustic solid turntable is aligned with the triangle. Before I continue, I give it a quick polish. The rig is not yet 100% balanced, but the manufacturer has made provisions for that. You can easily adjust the feet with this simple tool. A slight turn, and here we go. Now I can put the lids on. It is advisable to polish the 25 kilogram platter on the floor before proceeding with the assembly. Finally, I checked the sphere on top of the shank, which took French leaf 2 years ago and disappeared deep in the bearing. That was a dramatic story, but now everything is fine again. I massage 2 drops of special oil on the shaft to help it glide smoothly into the bearing. It's more than unlikely for the cartridge to have moved out of its position, but I checked the azimuth nevertheless to be sure. The digital arm load meter tells me that the tracking weight is still 2 grams. Now the electronic parts can be installed. First of all, the control unit. This cable leads to the motor. Finally, the transformer of the control box is connected to the power distributor. As I said in the beginning, there were only 3 reasons for restructuring my setup: improving heat dissipation, reducing loudspeaker cable length, and uncluttering the space between the speakers. I did not have any special aims or hopes to improve the sound with these simple measures. If I had had such dreams, you might suspect I had fallen victim to a psychoacoustic phenomenon and turned my expectations into an elusive perception. Therefore, I first stubbornly declined my perceptions when I noticed some improvements. But the more CDs I was very familiar with I played, the more I had to accept the little miracle which had taken place. Improved 3-dimensional imaging, the soundstage was a bit deeper, there was better defined structure vertically and horizontally, singer and musicians were more substantially separated in spaces of their own. These were changes which usually only happen when you swap cables or devices, or when you add damper feet. And this is what I really did in a certain way, by placing the power distributor and the amplifier on separate rock-solid base plates. Originally I had planned to hang up and air dry my gammons here right above the heat sinks of the A300, but after the modification there is not enough heat anymore and I had to drop the idea. So there won't be a follow-up video to tell you how delicious my homemade Plinius dried ham is. But I hope you enjoyed at least this video. Cheers!